All right. Today's video is going to be a midsummer tour of the homestead. And I thought, I haven't made a video in a while. And I do plan on making more videos soon. I just, there's a lot going on here. So I thought, well, maybe I can hit two birds with one stone, do a little homestead tour and get a video out as something to post. So here we are. And yeah, it's been a lot has changed in my life. I'm not going to go into it now, but you may have heard of what has transpired in my life, and I'm not here to talk about that in this video. But as you can imagine, a lot of changes have come with that, and so there's been a lot of readjusting to life as it is today. But we're doing good, and we're staying strong, and yeah, I'm excited to show you guys some of what's going on here. So we'll do like a full loop around. Right now, I am on this is the, I guess, northeastern corner of our house that we do live in now, and it's not quite finished. We're actually going to be getting this, we're already starting to do the siding with the strapping here, and we're going to be siding this and finishing everything, all the last little things. Actually, not entirely, most. There's so many things with a project like this. It's just insane. And so that's, it's been 4 years. Well, really 3. The first year we didn't really start until halfway through the year, but so call it 3.5 years. And there's been a lot built here, and a lot was built even before this house was built. I actually prioritized that garage greenhouse there because when we bought this place, we had that cabin. I've put a new roof on it and put some new windows on it. I want to side it still eventually, but anyways, we lived in that for a number of years, for 3 years, while we built all this other stuff. And that's why I kind of saved the house for later, because I wanted food growing capacity, I wanted water, I needed off-grid power. And so we had to build all those things before we could even start building a house and consider living in a house. So from here, let me take you on a little bit of a tour. Might as well start on the landing up here. This is where I've started most videos since I started making videos up on this property, and that's a high point, so it's kind of a nice place to start because then I can walk down on the property. But yeah, we've had these solar panels up here for a long time, and it's kind of a main landing, like a turnaround driveway, if you will. But it's on bedrock, and it's really annoying because eventually I want to just chew it all down so it's all level, and then I'll pave it, and it'll be a nice little cul-de-sac. But I won't be paving that this year. All these things take money and time and resources. And but I want to start up here because I'll show you what I'm doing right now. We're putting in some concrete up here, and we just did the slab down below. We'll kind of go around there too. I'm not going to show you inside of my house, but I'll show you outside. And so we're doing more concrete here, and that's going to connect into this deck wraps around the front of the house. It's kind of a main connection point. I wanted a detached garage, not an attached garage. So that's why I did that. But anyways, we're getting ready to do this slab. We'll do that early next week. And I'm just working on, I do all the machine work up here. So like I'm not doing that forming work. I've got guys doing that, but I do all the machine work to prep it. I'll run the packer and things like that. I'll prep it for them, and then they just come and form on top of it. So we're forming a slab, and then that slab's going to carry on through here. And then there's actually going to be a little bit of a step down, like a semi-retaining wall here, because it's all going to slope out this way. But then there'll be a curb, and then it'll go 45 degrees, and this will be all a landing up here, just like down here. And this is like my bedroom into the house. That's the master bedroom. And I've got these stairs that come down into this. And I've been planning to put a sauna here. And I've got a sauna. I've got this company that makes these sort of prefabricated ones that I'm going to be putting in. And the plan was to put it here. But since I started doing this, I think my brother-in-law said, like, why don't you just put the sauna here? I was like, yeah, no shit. Because then loading the firewood for it will be so much easier because I'll have machine access that can drop off the material. So I think that's what I'm going to do. But once the concrete's there and you really see it, then you'll really see it. But anyways, so these are these terraces. And I could do something else here too. Like I could put all kinds of things here. So we've got this, retaining wall. All of this this whole corner here of this house was all bulk filled in by me from material that was used for various different excavation projects on this property. And so it's a ton of material and packing and time to make these. And then this retaining wall. And yeah, and there's drainage in here. This one, for example, that's a French drain. So you can see part of it there. That's the drain tile, and it all slopes 1 degree out. So that way, in the wintertime, when there's freeze thaw, this slab isn't butted up against this retaining wall, which could over time just move it. And so, yeah, that prevents that from happening, but then this all just drains out nicely. So if I get a big dump of rain, all this slopes out here and just drains out and around, which is nice. And then, okay, I'm gonna turn the camera around and give you a little bit better of a perspective. So coming down here, this is my rainwater harvesting system, and we just had a big dump of rain, so it's kind of a nice time to film. And you can see the spillover here, and I'll go down here and I'll show you all this. But I wanted an emergency water system for this house where even without electricity, I have water, because I've got this great mountain well that goes down about 300 feet, and I got 10 GPM, and I can pretty much pump all year round. I can pump all year round anytime I want, and the water's available as long as I have electricity. But if I didn't have electricity, it'd be very difficult to pump from that well because it's deep. So I've got a lot of roof space on my buildings here. And so what I've done is I've set up a rainwater harvesting system, which is basically just taking the gutters that are already there and just directing them to a point. So on the back side of the house, all the gutters, this is just a single pitch roof, 212. It all comes down here. That last gutter is the last stop. There's a pipe that goes behind that retaining wall. Underneath here, underneath all this earth, you can see a tiny bit of it right there. This will all get covered up with soil once I do some grass or clover in here, so this will disappear. But you can see that line. It comes in here. This is a cistern right here. And there's 2 of these manholes. One of them we don't need, and it's just covered up. I only need 1. And there's another one here. And there's another manhole there, which is again covered up. I only need access to 1. So actually, no, sorry. This one, the manhole's here and then underneath here. And I'll go in there and show you in a second. And then on the front of these roofs slope out this way, and the greenhouse over there, all of that water comes through here, goes into the cistern here, and then it all goes in there. So there's 2 cisterns here. So that's 4,000 gallons of rainwater. The tanks are always full. And then this is where the water comes into that tank. It's got a little cover there, and it goes into a little catch basin there that has a screen on it. And this whole unit here, there's actually a lot more going on here than meets the eye. This is actually a spillover drain. So if that screen down there gets full of debris, which it has before, and there's a lot of water coming, this will overflow. And so this drain rock here goes as deep as this box. And then there's a hole that goes underneath this concrete, and it slopes out, and it all comes out right there. And so that is just an emergency spillway. If that gets filled up, it's just going to spill over the path of least resistance and get away so it doesn't compromise the bank. And so, yeah, let's go down. And so, yeah, this is more concrete work. We just did this the previous week, and so that's all done now, and it's so nice to have lots of concrete. And so coming down here, this is my, I guess, watershed or water bunker. And so in here are those 2 tanks. So this tank goes that way, this tank goes that way. The ugly plumbing in there, the big O, those are the overflows. So these tanks are always full. And right now they're even overflowing. You can see that it all goes through a culvert that comes underneath here. And I'll walk over there and show you in a second. But yeah, these are just overflowing, and it's dripping a bit, and it's okay because it's just spill over. Anything that's coming out of those drain pipes just ends up in that culvert anyways. So it can't really flood in here. And then the plumbing that's tight is the 2 tanks on the bottom. I've got bulkheads, 3-inch bulkheads in there, and then there's 2-inch line coming out. And so the bottom of the 2 tanks are teed together, and that's all insulation on there. This doesn't freeze. Actually went through a full winter and never got below 3 degrees Celsius in here, so it doesn't freeze, even at minus 20 outside. This room's all insulated. The thing is too, is water is insanely thermally dense. Like it would take like 6 months of minus 20 for these to freeze. So it's highly unlikely it'll ever happen. So needless to say, the plumbing stays intact quite well. They're teed together. It's a pressurized line that comes out. I can drain it at any time by just pulling this, and I'll do it for a second to actually just show you how this works. It's kind of cool. Let's just open up this valve here. So that is, at the moment, is just draining out there. And then that all comes out this culvert right here. So when it's raining, this is what's happening. The tanks are full and all the excess water is coming out here. I'm eventually going to put a pond here and then just put another culvert under here, and just all the excess water that comes off both of these buildings will first store in those tanks, and then it'll overflow into a pond. And so that's, basic permaculture principles, slowing down the movement of water on the landscape and holding it there as long as you can. Just basic permaculture principles and stacking functions. And so this water, I might not ever need to use this water, but it's here. And it's cool too because it's low tech. So these are connected here. Pressurized line, it comes up to another T, and then this line here goes under the slab of the house and right into my utility room in the ground level or on the lower level. And if I prime that line, so if I were to just, and it's all sloped down, not that it really matters, it's pressurized, but if I dump water into it to fill it up, it'll be primed, meaning there's water in the line. I could basically at that point take a manual pump in the utility room of the house and just pump it and pump water manually. So that's the idea with this. I can tee off, there's an on-off valve there. This is just a drain line. If I need to drain that line, it just drains out into the main drainage. But yeah, that's my, and I've got electricity down here too. Don't need it. I had this, I can actually unplug this now. I had this heater line in here that I tied in, just in case. But it was just never needed. It never went below 3 degrees in here, and that's because I'm sitting in front of 2,000 gallon tanks full of water. Even if that water is at, the lowest possible temperature that it's going to sit ambiently, which might be say 5 degrees Celsius, it's still enough to keep the ambient temperature in this room above freezing. That's exactly what it does. So that is that water system. Let's head over and you know what? We'll walk down to the food forest and then we'll make our way back up. All right. Maybe on our way down to the food forest, we'll stop in at the chickens. So this is where we keep our laying hens. Our meat birds, we move around. And that mobile coop there, we'll go up there in a minute, but that mobile coop there is where they go, and I can fit 35 birds in that coop, believe it or not. This coop is unnecessarily large. In fact, I don't like this coop. I want to change it. I had a guy who was up here a while ago built this for me. And I just don't like it. I think I want to build something smaller, and it's unnecessary. We were originally building this coop to house all of our birds, like meat birds and layers, but I've just found I prefer not to do that. I like to keep them separate. And so the layers are more or less static, and they're in here for 8 months of the year. And then before winter, when we finish off the meat birds, the laying hens will go in that coop, and then they'll live in the high tunnel for the winter, and they like it a lot actually. So yeah, these are our hens, and I got a couple new roosters in the mix, trying them out. Last one didn't work out. I lost 8 hens this winter, which was a real drag, but we don't eat as many eggs now, so we have more than enough than we need actually, even with these 6. I ferment my feed, and that's what all this is for. down there. And yeah. So that's the laying hens. Let's head down to the food forest. So this is year 2 of the food forest. And this little area here is a 1/4 acre by square feet. So it's not that big, but there are, what is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's about 7 or 8 rows that kind of go on contour. In fact, they run 1 degree out here, and then it all drains to a French drain. The reason I did that and not just on contour is my landscape up here is very, it's not that stable for water because it's all rocky and shaly. So and I can't really hold water in a swale like you could in a permaculture sense, because the soil underneath is all fractured rock, so the water just moves through. So I can't really hold water that well. I can hold it good, but not like a proper swale and create a plume underground and all that. I can't do that. So what I want to do is slow the water, but also have a real nice, easy path of least resistance. Because when we get a big rainstorm, we just had one, it wasn't flooding or anything, but when we get a big event in August, everything moves. All these will flood up, and then this French drain will just be pumping out water. Because I just can't hold it for that long. And if I hold it for too long, then it'll compromise the structure of what I've built here, which is all terraced. This originally was just this sort of grassy, flat area, and it was sloping southeast, which is great. But, and I suppose I could have just run rows and not reshaped the land, but I reshaped it because I wanted to create these berms to, again, slow the water even more. And so I used my excavator that has a 6-way dozer blade, and I would just scrape off the topsoil to the low side, shape the subsoil, and then bring the topsoil back. That's how I constructed all this. And then once it was all set, I just, buttressed it up with rocks that are everywhere here. And so that's what these rows are. And so this is what's called a syntropic food forest. And there's a tree every single foot, or 25 centimeters. And there's all kinds in here. I'm not going to go into a full video about it, but there's a ton of different species in here. 75% of them are just beneficials. They're not fruit bearing. And then there's sort of a plan with how this food forest will age over time. These are native elderberries. They're everywhere on this property. But yeah, this is the food forest. So there's these rows. They're on contour. And there's a berm. And what I've been doing is letting the vegetation on the berm establish, so it almost becomes a hedgerow. And I've been weeding out the weeds like the thistles and the devil's lettuce and stuff like that. But I've been leaving the mullins and some of the native grasses in here, and the clover and just some of the nice stuff. I'm just leaving it form a hedgerow, and it's kind of nice. So we just mowed, and we did a big chop and drop in here. Some of the trees that we put in here last year were just they were 2 years ahead of the other, or a year or two ahead of the other ones. And so, especially these green alders. So we have to just hack them down. Normally you want to just do all this in the fall, and I do it in the fall as well. But I had to just hack some of it down. And I've got comfrey planted in here on both sides of these beds as well. And it was just really hairy. So we had to mow that down too. And it'll just grow again, but it's just all biomass. I'm just continuing to just throw biomass on the soil. Once we mow, we water so that it decomposes and helps build the soil further. But yeah, that's the food forest. It's coming along really nice. It looks really good. It's holding its moisture better than it has in the past, because the cover crops around it are just establishing more, so there's less exposed soil. There's the old BCS. That's the flail mower, or not the flail mower, that's the brush mower. I use that on this path and then on some of these walkways, but mostly we just use a line trimmer in between and big shears. All right, coming up into one of the main gardens. Cabbage, beans, peas, potatoes, Another hedgerow, same idea, just letting mostly the mullein and see this stuff. That stuff I'm pulling out, but I'll leave that, I get the thorny, nasty stuff out just because it just spreads, and then I've got it in the gardens and stuff, so I manage those weeds. This is my tree nursery, and just a lot of excess trees that I didn't have a place to put last year I wanted to keep, so they're in here, and probably next early spring I'll dig a bunch of these out and plant them. I'm building another berm actually in front of the food forest. It's going to go wrap around this ridge. There'll be 2 of them, and my plan is to put walnuts in there as the primary tree and a bunch of elderberry and green alders between them, and then eventually the walnuts will just take over. But that's the plan there. And then here in this high tunnel, we were just doing some bed prep here. I let my chickens come and run amok, and they got out of the coop and they came and just demoed my carrot bed, and they hit my strawberries a little bit too, which is kind of annoying. You really got to watch it with chickens. You really got to be careful. But anyways, I'll replant carrots in this. Some cannabis crops coming up. Some volunteers too. Volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. Volunteer squash. Sometimes I just let volunteers go. But we got some cute... Oh no, this is all watermelons and cantaloupes in here. I wanted to do 1 row of them in a greenhouse this year. Just to get a good crop on just like some of them. I've got a bunch in the field as well, but... And this is where the chickens are in the winter. The layers, they're coming out and they just live in here. And this soil is as back to Eden as you can get. It's just chips. It's just wood chips everywhere. But I still, use 30-inch beds. So, yeah, there's that garden. I'm planting a lot in the greenhouses here, but less in the field. But, peas coming along good. This is a little strawberry area, little electroculture rod there. Planning to do some more of those. This terrace, I'm not using this year so far. I've just got more garden bed space than I can use, really. So I don't have anything planted there this year, though I could put garlic there in the fall. And then this plot here, 2 beds that are open. Gonna put some more stuff in there, but a little bit of open space here. Onions, celery, leeks going to seed from last year. Save some of that seed. Corn at wider spacing just so it's easier to weed. So you can see my soil is just wood chips. But I don't add to it every year. It's actually hard for me to get wood chips up here. So I do have to stir up hoe. And, weeds actually make their way through anything. Here's a cabin we lived in for 3 years. It's more of a guest house now. And this was my wife's herb garden. Lots of just different perennial herbs. It's doing really well. Holy crap. Oregano and all kinds of stuff in here. And then in the high tunnel, the second high tunnel, which is more insulated than the other one, got my peppers. That's diatomaceous earth on there. I've had some pill bug problems, so we're just putting it everywhere. This year I just put tomatoes 2 rows in this bed. In previous years I had a row there and a row there. And so this year I'm just doing the center. I've got romaine. It's all starting to go to seed though, so it's kind of enjoyed that for the last few months. This is an experiment. These are an alpine strawberry that grow like a weed here. And I let them stay in this greenhouse. And I'm just trying to find one of the berries. My kids eat them like every single day. They produce this crazy, tiny little white strawberry. And I'm just seeing if I can find one to show you. Maybe these are already done, but they produce an incredible little white strawberry. And my kids have just creamed them out. And they might be just finished anyways now, but really cool experiment. And because you don't normally see them. Like you see these strawberries everywhere, but they never get berries because they're zone 5. It just doesn't make it. So, but in the greenhouse, it does. And then last thing will end up in the Paso Solar greenhouse. So just landscaping we've done over time with rocks that we have an endless supply of. And then up in the Paso Solar greenhouse, The grapes are just amazing. My kids picked a couple ones already, not from these coronations that we have over here. Up top, there was some semi-ripe ones today. I found over the years, a greenhouse like this, it's really about three things. It's about, number one, it's a nursery. So when I start stuff in February on those shelves up there, on that area, that's where I've got all my nursery stuff. So it's that, number one. Number two, it's about perennials. I've got figs. I've got bananas in here now too, actually. But it also gives me an insane grape season where I'm picking grapes for 4 months. I'm trying this blackberry in here. It's a thornless blackberry. My kids are already picking them. So it's about nursery, perennials, and third, it's just about lifestyle. It's just having a place that I can come in here and walk barefoot in the wintertime, ground myself out, and just feel the humidity and feel like, we're in Mexico, basically. That's what it's about. And so, yeah, bananas. Got these from Dean from Arcopia. You might have seen his channel on YouTube. This one might not be surviving. This one is. I got 3 from him. One of them also died. But ginger, we got ginger in here. So, yeah, that's what this is all about. In here, it's a hangout zone for my kids. It's a place we can come any time of the day and almost any time of the year, and it's warm and beautiful and enjoyable to hang out in. So, yeah. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. And yeah, this project could never end, but we're mostly there to where, it's comfortable, it has all the things that we need, but there's many, many projects to come, and I'll be working on this probably for the rest of my life, but that's what I want. It's a place that I can put real capital in, like my work, my kids, when they're old enough to build stuff, they can build a house here. They can do whatever they want. And so that's what's so great about having a project like this. It's a lot of work though. It's a lot of work, 4 years. And what we've got done here in 4 years is more than what most people would do in 10. But, I've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. So I guess for a guy like me who has a fairly broad skill set, jumping into this project wasn't as daunting as it might be for others. Though I will tell you, it was daunting for me. And I've learned a ton of things in the process of it. So yeah, I'll leave it there. And yeah, if you guys want to get on the land yourself, check out my Homestead Accelerator. There'll be a link in the show notes. And we post properties every single week of homesteads like this that have things that you need for food, water, energy, shelter. So you can get on there and spend the years looking like I did and benefit from myself and my team's expertise at finding a place for you. So link in the show notes. All right, folks, see you in the next one.